Listen to this. CNN, let me just show you how it's played. CNN is Canaan. Okay? All right? Canaan was named after Cain. Okay? So the interesting thing is that, one second here. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So, I just wanted to make sure that this was still transmitting. So you have then who? Because in Hebrew, none of these exist. Okay? And that's why it's all a reference to C-N-N, okay, which is Canaan. Now, this is how your story gets stolen, because we know for a fact that Canaan is not only a melanated being, because if you know anything about the Semitic tribes, you know Canaan is father, and all these people are all this. They're Alkebulanian tribe. They're melanated tribe. Okay, but in the movie Conan becomes, obviously he's the barbarian. Let me show you this. Just watch how this all works. Conan is the barbarian. Okay, 1 second. I think my updates are not pushing. Okay, so he's a barbarian. Okay, now this is how it all gets so tied up. And this is how we also are all inexplicably linked. Okay, so he's a barbarian. Now we talked about Bar. Okay, Bar is another name for Saturn. It means dry, barren. Okay, and this is because the opposite side of Saturn, because like I said, they all have two poles, right? So let's say the opposite side of Saturn, one side is wet and the other side is dry. Okay? And when you get to the dry side of Saturn, we just refer to that as Bar. Okay? As in barren, as we say here, like the desert. Okay? And even in this tradition, when you invert Saturn, it's called barren Samiti. There's barons, right? And they're the opposite aspects of the planetary systems when they're in their highest form. Okay? So Conan, he's a barbarian, right? And in this movie, you have also you have Bombata, and you have James Earl Jones playing the Serpent King, okay? You remember that? The first Canaan, or the first series of Conan, okay? So let me unravel all this for you so you can understand just how much cultures get hijacked. I got to go here really quick to... Okay, so I'm going to show you basically how you are living in a false reality just because things get twisted by the media inside of our brains every day. I'm just typing in. I got to open some pages here. And when somebody wants Venus, they want your girl, they want your womb, they want where you came from, where all those came from, they want to take it for themselves. Then you get this crazy situation where all of us don't get our proportions. Okay, so here it is. So we talked about the Swords, okay? And we know that the Swords is the last name of German origin, and it means black, okay? So it was originally a nickname for someone with black hair or dark complexion. Huh? Isn't that confusing? Right away? Because if this word means black and it means a person that is black, then why is there such an idolization of this black? Right? Is this idolization of the black somehow connected to the black, in this case being the fertility component? Right? Because then we get this. Okay. And everybody knows that Schwarzenegger, now, not to mention Negger is on the back of the name. Like this is something you cannot create on your own. Okay. Something has to be going on here. Okay. And so the reason why this name is put together like this is because this is a name of power. Okay. When finally cracking this mystery, this is the name of power, but of a specific kind of power, a black power. Not a white power, but a black power. So even the people who think that they're Nazis, man, they're being laughed at because white power is now under the symbol of black power. In Canaan, who is black, he's the son of Ham. So he would have to be black. And in fact, they talk about this in the Bible, that Ham was a black man. It's really Cham. But this Canaan is a reference to black man. But the Canaan is also a reference to CNN News. Right? Where some people in Hollywood have taken the entire culture and because see, this is the breaking news. This is all there really is. This is all of the knowledge. That's what I'm saying. If you don't know about this stuff, then you don't know anything. It's not a reference to a specific race of people. It's a reference to a culture. And if one of the cultures has been removed, well, you don't have a strong upbringing. You don't have a lineage. You don't have a petri dish. You have your stuff all in the wrong place. So to pretend like you hate someone and then to idolize them and then to steal their power will not only get you confused, it would get your children confused. Because remember, Ham is cursed, okay, according to their text, right? And this is where the whole thing, it gets all confused because and demonized, because if it's cursed, then why does everybody want to be it then, right? And then so the biggest revelation to all of this is, and there's one more thing. Remember, because you're getting all of the knowledge but all in the same movie. But they keep mixing stuff up. They're mixing so many different things up. It's like, man, I'm losing it for a minute. What's going on? But they're mixing literally the story of Canaan and Cham, the Naga and the Negus, the black nobility, in the same movie where someone, did you see these two snakes here in the eye? This is a symbol of Murugan, okay? So let me just find a more blown up image here. This is all about Murugan. This is basically an image of Solomon. But in this image, you see this is the image of Kundalini. It's the two snakes twined around the coil, right? And then he's got the two swords, and then he's got the snakes, and of course he turns into a snake in the movie, right? But what this is a reference to, and then remember, he also played Darth Vader in Star Wars. I mean, do we understand here that this is why he also plays Simba in The Lion King? So didn't we just tell you it was a lion snake, right? That was really a symbol of Cham, Cham was the ancient city of Canaan, the people from the ancient city of Canaan. This connects to the Naga or the Negus or the Rastafarian, even Ras. This connects to the Serpent King from Abu Simbel. And this connects to pretty much the ancient lineage of the fathers, in this case from Orion, who were the funkendating components of the beginning of the structure that we're all standing on. But somehow in the movie, a big role play reversal goes in where Mr. Schwarzenegger kills the shit out of Cain or Cham and then takes his identity, literally says that he's about black power under the guise of white power, and then keeps going forward with the story and then starts telling us the news every day as, again, we're forced to think that all of this is somebody else's culture when it's really not. And I'm not, again, bringing up something that we need to war about here. I'm just saying if this is being done, no wonder why we don't know anything that's happening, because we don't have any references. And at this point, with this kind of coding and this kind of way of actually taking over another culture, you would have all this stuff out of place. So it would be like confusing. And that's what we're talking about when it's about the confusion that is happening. So now look, Canaan, and this is the last thing that I'll mention, because this will just bring it to you modern time. So you know this is still happening. Canaan and Ham actually are a direct relation to, and this is the same family line, the same bloodline as Marduk. Okay? Marduk. Okay? Now, we have Marduk, Murugan, Mars, okay? And all these beings are very equipped for war. Because they're also, if you're equipped for war, that means you also must be equipped for love. So they must be always protecting something and defending something. That's the whole thing with Mars. He's a warrior. He's for country, for God, for, never what Mars wants. He's always protecting something. And Marduk and Murugan were the same way. Now the discrediting going on is all modern. Okay? So in this tradition, Marduk was known as 50. Okay? 50. Right? Look at this. In the series Power, $50 who's basically the inverted version of Marduk. We talked about this before. All Hollywood does is they find the guy that connects with the tradition. It's not hard. There's a lot of us running around. So they'll find the guy, and in this case, it's 50. And they'll invert his power, okay? And this is why you'll start noticing, you see this necklace that he's wearing? You notice this same necklace is also on... Actually, it's on who's the guy that does all the painting, Alex Gray. It's on his pendant. You'll see this necklace because it's actually a symbol of a fallen angel. Okay, it's actually a symbol of when they corrupted the Venusian. They corrupted the Venusian knowledge, and then they made this symbol. I guess if we're gonna crack the entire code, just like you saw James Earl Jones and everybody else thrown under the bus as the evil creature, blah, 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 blah. There is a specific image of Satan, like as a cognate, which was a creation of the Catholic Church. And they use this symbol not only to strike fear in everybody, but they also use it in their occultism. And they put it on people who are initiated into their cult. Now, remember, all these people are dumb. They didn't get it. They were taught by someone who doesn't know about it and has an agenda to teach them the wrong version. And in that, they're lost. Okay, and I can't find it, which is probably a good thing. Turn the screen on here. But remember, 50 Cent in Power, okay? What is his name? Who does he play? There he is. Curtis Jackson. 50 Cent is Canaan. See, because they're using anybody to betray the true knowledge of what is happening and who we all are. We're not colors. We're all supposed to be nobles. Everybody's got a story. We just talked about today Sutin's story. What about the rest of these? What other cultures are these? Are these the Czechoslovakians? Are these the Slavs? Are these the Druids? Who else? Whose culture are we going to demonize today is what I'm asking. The general consensus. Because it's a continuous process of them creating these as below fakers that actually then take our holiness. Now he's Cain, he's Marduk. And he's trying to give everybody this idea that Marduk is really this warlike being that kills his brothers and all this kind of stuff. Just like they tell you about Cain. Cain killed his brother Abel. That's not what happened. How do you know that didn't happen? How do you know that Cain didn't kill his brother? That him and his brother actually were the closest friends. And they were twins. And that there's more to the story. You'll know that if you read the Popol Vuh. Because this is the story as it follows up from Atlantis having to attempt to rescue their lineage from the underworld. Okay, and you can watch that on your own time, but it's just an awareness that every single story that they give us, now it's Cain and Abel are fighting each other, but the biggest two brother story in the history of humanity is still recorded in the Popol Vuh and how the two brothers actually work together. You see how they're pouring this healing onto the people, right? They later on became known as the sun and the moon. These are all references to how we work together. And because the ancient knowledge is something that is you, it's not something that you need to be taught unless you've been programmed not to believe it, then this means that there was an entire process of this usurping of this knowledge, and now we're misinterpreting it the wrong. We're interpreting it. We're misinterpreting it, and we're interpreting it the wrong way. Because once again, these brothers, and this is the last story, these brothers were basically leaving out of Kemet. Things were falling apart. Not everybody was good. Let's lose that idea that, oh, everybody was the great one. It's not about being great. It's about whether you're learning your lesson or not, or you're doing your time properly, and that you're getting what's happening here, and you're getting how you're contributing to this also, how you may, instead of living out a new life and rewriting maybe even something that didn't go the right way the last time you were here, instead of that, you're back again. Or you're being used to be a Canaan, misrepresenting 50 Cent or 50, who is Marduk, who is basically the hero of the gods. So now you're not a hero anymore. You're spreading all this vermin and viruses to the children now. You see what I mean? But you can do that when you don't know the truth and you're not raised in the truth. And then also you can easily turn from this once you start becoming aware, because you'll feel that power. You'll be like, shoot, even 50 Cent, if he was listening, sit there and be like, some people say, well, does he know it already? Sometimes the ego blinds from knowing anything. So the reality is he may sit down and become aware of that, and seeing all that symbolism around him and realize that actually he's so powerful, he can be extremely destructive to everything, or he could just completely have a change of heart. He can mend his heart back together, and all of that power can then be pushed against all of those forces that want him to use his power to keep spreading this ignorance. So do you see how it works? And that's why we're kind of sitting on a very interesting situation, because even these people who have gained a lot of fame and power inside of that false construct, they still look at YouTube also. They breathe the same air. And so when they start hearing this stuff and they realize they've been casted into their ancient role, but to demonize their ancient role, to make their ancient role not at its highest level of nobility, and they're not representing their genetics and their DNA properly, they may choose to make the actions to return themselves back to nobility. And this is for everybody. This is everybody. If you're the son of Donald Trump, if you're the great granddaughter of the Queen Elizabeth, whatever, whoever you are, you all have an amazing story of this existence of us coming together and us doing great things. And only till recently does the story always entail us not being smart enough to realize the obvious, that if we're all here together, then we're all together.